Hi. So let's do a mindfulness meditation for reflecting on difficulty. So since this is a mindfulness meditation, we won't do any tune-ins. There's no mantra or mudra. So go ahead and just sit in easy pose. Go ahead and close your eyes. This will be more of a mindfulness guided meditation, kind of a cross between the two. No visualizations, but you will be reflecting on difficulty. So, like I said, go ahead and close your eyes, sit in a comfortable position. Go ahead and inhale, exhale, just kind of find your center. Focus on the rhythm of your breathing. Allow yourself to be calm. Open up to being reflective. Exhale. Okay. And I want you to think about a difficulty that you are currently facing with either your spiritual practice or it can be anywhere in your life that you're dealing with. Go ahead and bring that up, let it just flow up. And then as it flows up, I want you to pay attention to where it shows up in your body. How is it affecting your body? And as you become aware of how it's impacting your body, I want you to think about how it also impacts your heart. Okay, and as you notice where it shows up in your body, how it affects your heart, I want you to become aware of how it impacts your mind. So for me, I'm noticing my difficulty is showing up in my lower back, my spine tenses, my heart closes down, and my mind goes negative. That's where my difficulty, that's where my difficulty is largely showing up. There are other aspects. My body also feels heavy. My heart also feels heavy. My mind is also feeling heavy, each with different qualities. So just take notice of the different ways that your body is impacted, your heart is impacted, and your mind is impacted with this difficulty. Just let that awareness flow up, and then we'll start by asking some questions. So, the first question, as you sit with how this difficulty is impacting you physically, in your heart, and in your mind, I want you to ask yourself, how have I treated this difficulty so far? So, for me, I've treated this difficulty with a whole lot of attitude and resistance, a lot of pushback on my end. So, just sit with how you have treated this difficulty so far. Seems like with this difficulty, I'm putting a whole lot of the anxiety and stress right into my intestines. So just take notice. Your body will tell you exactly how you have treated this difficulty. So if you're not getting an answer in your mind or in your heart, your body will tell you. So just sit with this question for a moment longer. And if you don't get an answer, that's okay too. As you practice this more and more, those answers will arise. So the next question I want you to ask yourself is, how have I suffered by my own response and reaction to this difficulty? So what exactly has happened? What additional suffering has resulted from your reaction and response to the difficulty? For me, I can say I've definitely prolonged the difficulty because of my attitude and resistance to it, because it's a lesson, right? it's here to teach me something, and I'm resisting that lesson. So perhaps yours has been compounded in other ways. Maybe it's financial, maybe it's harming your relationships. So just sit with this for a moment longer to reflect on how the suffering has shown up in response to your reaction and response to the difficulty. Remember to keep breathing deeply as we go through this. It's very easy, especially when we're reflecting on difficulties. It's very easy to start to close down. Like I'm noticing that my lower body is starting to shut off. I apparently do not want to reflect on this difficulty. So if you're noticing that areas of your body are tightening, take a moment to draw your attention to it. So, for example, my stress and anxiety that I've placed in my intestines, I'm going to bring my attention there and I'm going to take a few deep breaths with my attention still on my intestines. Okay, I'm noticing that my heart's also closed down to this reflection. So I'm going to bring my focus up to my heart. And I'm going to do a couple more deep breaths to open my heart back up. Okay, that feels better. If you need to take a little bit longer, if you have more areas that you want to just focus on reopening, please feel free to pause the video so that you can continue to open those parts of your body. Don't leave them closed. Please pause the video and breathe into those areas so that you can really reflect on what's happening with your difficulty. So the next question we're going to ask is, what suffering is unavoidable? So what part of this is outside of your control with this difficulty? And then the other aspect of that is, how much of that can you accept? Where are you at as far as, okay, so you've looked at, this is the aspect that is unavoidable for this challenge. So how much of that can I accept? Again, just stay with your body, your heart, and your mind. This isn't necessarily an answer coming from the mind. You do want to connect with what's happening in the body. So, for example, when I think about what suffering is unavoidable with my difficulty, again, the anxiety and stress in my intestines flares up. My lower body kind of goes numb, doesn't want to engage with it, which is rooted in root chakra, which is security, so that makes sense. And then how much of this can I accept? Well, I'm willing to accept all of it. The problem is that I've got aspects that are shutting down. So there's a part of this that I don't want to acknowledge, that I don't have control over. So instead of just moving through and moving on to the next question, I'm going to take a couple moments to breathe into my lower body to open that back up. And then I want to bring my focus up to my intestines to breathe back into them to let that anxiety and stress out. I don't want to keep it in my intestines. So keeping the focus on the areas that tightened. Perhaps your heart tightens or you feel fear or anger. Maybe you have thoughts that are coming up or different images that are coming up. Just breathe into those as well. Don't attach to the thoughts if yours are coming up as thoughts, and don't attach to the emotions if it's fear, it's anger. Just breathe into it. Just bring yourself back to your breath. And with the heavier meditations, whether it's mindfulness or it's Kundalini yoga, I like to exhale through my mouth. It kind of gives me more of I feel like I'm better able to release when I inhale deeply and then exhale through my mouth. Feel free to just inhale and exhale through your nose if that works better for you. Okay, so that just for me, that released a whole lot of fear and uncertainty. So I'm going to take a couple more moments to breathe into those. With these types of mindfulness meditations, I generally will pair it with Byron Katie's The Work, and I ask if any of this is true. So if I have thoughts that are coming up, I simply ask, is it true? I'll put a link to Byron Katie's The Work website as well so that you can add that in to see if that will help with your meditative practices as well. Okay. And again, please feel free to pause the video if you need a little bit more time, if you have other areas that are popping up, or you just need more time to focus on your breath to allow your body, heart, and mind to come back to the calm, receptive place. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next question, which is what great lesson might this difficulty be able to teach me? This question generally hits my heart pretty hard because there's always something in there that flows up for me that sometimes I'm just like, oh, duh, if I had just sat with this, it probably would have been a lot easier. So, the question is, what great lesson might this difficulty be able to teach me? And again, just a reminder, come back to your breath. If you're feeling overwhelmed, there's a lot coming up physically, emotionally, mentally, or all three. Refocus on your breath. Inhale deeply. Exhale. You are not alone. We all carry heaviness. That's why I think it's a good idea to reflect on the difficulty to help us recenter within ourselves, to take a step back, to actually look at it instead of being lost in it, because day to day it's easy to get swept up in the difficulty. How often are we taking a moment to just sit with it, to take a look at it? Okay, I've got a lot of anxiety coming up under and around my heart. So I'm going to go ahead and focus on that to reopen my heart because it's starting to shrink down. When I have a particularly intense emotion that I'm struggling to either listen to or allow. I've started approaching it from a place of gratitude. This might help you as well. So with the anxiety, I'm just going to say thank you for showing up, anxiety. I appreciate you. This part I always feel a little silly, so it makes me laugh, which also helps me take myself less seriously. So I've started implementing that in my practice to help me take the situation less seriously when I'm meditating. Because obviously I'm taking it seriously, and that's why my body is tense and my heart is closing and my mind is becoming rigid, is because I'm taking it too seriously. So sometimes a little bit of humor can help. I know gratitude is a huge part of what helps me with my meditation. So try adding in a thank you to the emotion that you're seeing. All right, so I got Dread coming up. Thank you, Dread, for showing up. I appreciate you for trying to teach me. And thank you again, anxiety. I appreciate you for showing up. I humbly request that you go ahead and release. Okay. So again, here, please feel free to pause the video if you need longer to sit with that. Express some gratitude. Maybe bring yourself a couple of laughs while you thank the emotions for showing up. First few times, like I said, you can feel a little silly, but it really helps me, so I continue to do it. So we'll move on to the last question here, which is what gold or value is hidden in this difficulty? This part generally makes me cry. I feel like this is the heaviest question for me because it's kind of hard to dig out the gold from within the difficulty. So go ahead and take a deep breath in and exhale. Okay, so even from within the anxiety and the dread and the stress that's still coming up in the same areas for me, which I am grateful for that it's not spreading. There seems to be a central theme for where these emotions are talking to me from. I'm feeling a much more grounded, strong sense of centeredness. So take a couple deep breaths and just notice, even if you have emotions that are still rising up, see if there's any other aspect that's coming through. And again, perhaps yours is more of a mental image that's coming through, or it's a voice that's whispering. Mine tend to be more of a being place. I think that's from all the meditative practices. I've kind of developed that communication system within myself. So much calmer, more reassured, more supported for sure as well, even though that anxiety and stress is still trying to teach me and talk to me. Thank you for that. I appreciate you both. I humbly request that you release. Thank you. All right, heart, don't close down on me. Stay with me. Thank you, anxiety, for showing up in my heart. I humbly request that you release. Thank you. Keep focusing on your breath. Again, if you're noticing that you're tightening your shoulders, you're squinting or scrunching up your face, you're locking your jaw, maybe you have cramps, maybe whatever it is, breathe. Remember to focus on your breath and simply ask, is this true? And I just want to reiterate that this can take time for answers to come or for understanding to show. That's why I add in all these extra supportive systems like thanking the emotions, because again, it brings me laughter. It also brings gratitude. It helps me ease up and not take myself or the situation too seriously. This is about taking your time. It's about being with yourself and where you are. Because I also want to point out that meditation is an act of self-love. It is an act of self-compassion, and that's huge. That is a incredible gift that you're giving to yourself. So give yourself some love. Thank yourself for showing up. Remember to breathe. And it can be a good idea to come back to this a couple times, either a day or days in a row. Because each time you reflect on it, if it's still happening or it still feels like the same level of intensity, deeper understanding, deeper awareness comes as we continue to sit with ourselves, with the difficulty, with our minds, with our emotions. It takes time to build this relationship. Just think about any other relationship you have in your life, right? It took time to build that. Oh, excuse me. So it's okay if you only got a little bit, or if you only brought awareness to physical tightness. That's what you need now. That's the awareness that you can handle now, and that's perfect. That's exactly what's needed. So we'll do a couple more breaths here before we close out. And exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, I want you to keep breathing. And as you continue to breathe in and out, you can either deepen, inhale deeply, exhale deeply, or just become aware of the natural rhythm of your breath, whichever you feel you need. I also want you to thank yourself for showing up. I want you to show yourself some gratitude and love and compassion for stepping into your difficulty from a different point of view, not just the day-to-day lived experience of the difficulty, but actually sitting with it to question and look at what's within it that you can learn that's going to help. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just say Sat Nam. Even though we didn't tune in, I do like to acknowledge Sat Nam with meditations just as kind of a honorary thank you for showing up. Please feel free to do a sun salutation if you prefer to do that, or just sit and breathe deeply. Maybe jot down a couple things that you noticed or you feel are important. And I hope you found this helpful. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you soon.